We have some breaking news as Republican senators are now calling for an investigation into Donald Trump for his coercion against Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell. The Republican Party is being dragged down to the depths of hell by Donald Trump, not only in terms of morals, but also approval rating. As Trump's approval rating is rapidly dropping, the Republican Party's approval rating is dropping by proxy because they are now heavily associated with this type of coercion, this type of bullying on the streets where masked men are walking around intimidating U.S. citizens, killing U.S. citizens, breaking the ribs of elderly U.S. citizens, and pepper spraying people who are peacefully protesting. It turns out Americans like the fundamental American idea of freedom of speech, freedom of expression, the ability to not be asked for your ID or papers wherever you go when you're shopping in a Target like these videos that we've seen. And I just want to run through how unpopular the administration is becoming and how much Trump is absolutely screwing up. Let's just start here. Republican Senator Lisa Murkowski says the Trump DOJ is engaged in coercion and must be investigated. Quote, after speaking with Chair Powell this morning, it's clear the administration's investigation is nothing more than an attempt at coercion. I made a video about this yesterday that you should check out, but the Trump DOJ is trying to fabricate an investigation into Jerome Powell for the expense of the Washington headquarters for the Fed chair, like just some BS investigation, because he's trying to remove him so Trump can unilaterally control our monetary policy. Purely the stuff that happens in third world countries that leads to economic collapse because one person shouldn't lead the economic policy. We have a board of experienced people with a steady hand. But to continue, quote, if the Department of Justice believes an investigation into Chair Powell is warranted based on project cost overruns, which are not unusual, then Congress needs to investigate the Department of Justice. The stakes are too high to look the other way. If the Federal Reserve loses its independence, the stability of our markets and the broader economy will suffer. My colleague, Senator Tillis, is right in blocking any Federal Reserve nominees until this is resolved. So Republicans in the Senate are quite literally standing up. Not only is Tom Tillis blocking any new Federal Reserve Chair nominees, but Lisa Murkowski is saying Congress might investigate Donald Trump's DOJ for this. I also want to point out, it's very important to point out, right after this happens, a former representative, Mary Peltola from Alaska, says she's running for Senate. This is huge news. This is a significant recruitment for the Democrats right ahead of the midterms, as Mary Peltola has already won statewide in Alaska before. She's tested, tried, and true. The opposition research has already come out in prior races and has the best shot at putting the red-leaning seat in play, which could help us get closer to essentially taking the Senate. I mean, an interesting fact is Republicans are defending 22 Senate seats in this midterm election in 2026. Democrats are only defending 13 Senate seats. Now, to be honest, we still have an uphill battle. We still have a lot of work to do. Not only are Republicans going to try to pull some tricks, but we actually just have an unfavorable Senate map unless we turn out and vote en masse. We're going to be covering all of these races throughout the midterm, so make sure you drop a like and subscribe. But Mary Peltola released an ad saying she's running for a U.S. Senate seat, and immediately there were shockwaves. She's lifting Democrats' hopes because there is now a chance we could take back the Senate and actually open more investigations into people like Kristi Noem, which I truly think we need. A higher chance of impeaching someone like Kristi Noem or Pete Hegseth if we have the Senate. So just overall, really bad news for the administration, and Trump is getting increasingly desperate. He just confirmed via the DHS that they are surging 1,000 more federal immigration agents into Minnesota. So throughout the bad news that he's getting heading into the midterms, as he's getting increasingly desperate, the goal is becoming to consolidate power, to intimidate people, essentially the type of stuff that happens in developing countries, third world countries, and banana republics. Like, the DHS is surging 1,000 more federal immigration agents into Minnesota. This means federal agents now outnumber local police in Minneapolis-St. Paul, which has actually caused a lot of friction in the area, as the Minneapolis police has spent the past 5 years or so trying to rebuild trust in this community after the murder of George Floyd, and now these ICE agents come in with police badges and just blow up any community trust that has been built, even if the police, of course, aren't perfect. This is the largest federal law enforcement deployment in a U.S. city in modern history following the ICE killing of Renee Nicole Good in days of mass protests. It's no longer routine enforcement, it's federal occupation, says Brian Allen, and this comes right as there's an article saying Trump regrets not seizing voting machines after the 2020 election. In a new interview, the President of the United States said he should have ordered the National Guard to take the machines and find evidence of fraud, but added that the Guard might not have had the sophistication to do so, meaning his allegations of fraud were BS. The National Guard likely would have refused, and this is exactly why people like Senator Mark Kelly are saying it is totally lawful to refuse unlawful orders. Actually, it is your duty to do so according to the Uniform Code of Military Justice. And just to back up, when you put all of this together, the surging of federal troops into Minneapolis, Minnesota, so they outnumber local police, plus Trump saying he regrets not seizing the voting machines while Mary Peltola is hopping in the Senate seat, it's a painting a picture of a pretty desperate human being. So many of the Republican senators are pissed off at the lack of independence that Trump is allowing, not only for the military, not only for Congress, but now the Fed chair. But it gets honestly even worse. The U.S. Department of Labor posted one homeland, one people, one heritage. Remember who you are, American. Now, I still am studying a lot of history for my debates. I'm not a huge history buff, but I do know one thing. I do recognize this quote from somewhere. This phrase quite literally comes from Nazi Germany. They used many powerful and simple slogans as a central part. One was, quote, ein Volk, ein Reich, ein Führer, which was one people, one realm, one leader. It was heavily used to reinforce the cult of personality. Let's just go back. One homeland, one people, one heritage. Just says one people, one realm, one leader. It's the exact type of rhetoric. What else do you expect when you have videos like this coming out of Minneapolis, Minnesota, where people are being surrounded and they say to this person, quote, did you see what just happened? Essentially implying they're going to repeat what happened to Renee Nicole.
For what?
Stop fucking following us. You are impeding operations. This is the United States federal government.
I live over here. I got to get to my house.
This is your warning.
Got to get to
All
my
right?
house.
Go home to your kids.
Go to church.
Go to home to your kids. This is your last warning.
I serve the
will
Lord.
Arrest you.
Go to church.
Wholly surrounded. If I continue to go, they just surround him for over a minute. All I see in these videos and articles are desperation from an administration that is rapidly losing power. I mean, when I see this, Mary Peltola runs for Senate in Alaska, and then we read this article right here. The president said during an interview with the New York Times that he regretted not ordering the National Guard to seize voting machines. The remarks in the interview last week harked back to one of the most perilous moments from the first term when he was urged by some advisors to order his national security agencies to take control of machines. By advisors, we mean people like Rudy Giuliani after all of the serious political operators were shedded at this point. They all dipped or resigned en masse in the DOJ. The statement also comes as he continued his attacks on digital voting machines, saying he's going to lead a movement to change this year's midterm elections. We are going to continue to fight. They want to attack the colleges because they don't want an educated populace, attack the press because they don't want transparency, attack citizen journalists and make sure they're intimidating them so this stuff isn't reported. If you appreciate the work we do on this channel, all that I ask is that you drop a like. If you made it this far, drop a blue heart. I will see you all later. Peace out.